Give Jesus praise.
EMS.
Oh, Tony, it's really good to see you. Is the work good?
It's a disaster. I don't know what I'm doing. But anyway, it's my problem. I don't want to bore you.
You don't have to use it.
You have your own.
Yes, it's true today that when people stand with the fire of God and the truth in hand, we'll see miracles, we'll hear angels sing, we'll see broken hearts stand up and make history. Oh yes, it's true. I believe it. I'm living for you. I'm gonna be a history maker in this land. I'm gonna be a speaker of truth to all mankind. I'm gonna stand, gonna run, I'm into your arms. Sing it again, I'm gonna be a history maker in this land. I'm gonna be a speaker of truth to all mankind. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run into your arms. Into your arms, Lord. Gonna run into your arms, into your arms, into your arms. Gonna run into your Yes, Lord, gonna run for you, gonna run for you. Oh, gonna run for you, Lord. Oh, we're gonna run for you, Lord. Rock of Ages, we're gonna run for you. Gonna run for you. Find our peace in you, Lord. We're gonna run for you into your arms. Into your arms. We're gonna run for you. nations. Oh, we can see the finish line. We're gonna run, Lord, we're gonna run, yeah. Oh, we're gonna run for you into your arms. Oh, Jesus, we're gonna run for you. Run for you, run for you, run for you. Jesus, we love you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Bless you, Lord. You're all we want, Lord. You're all we want. You're all we want. You're all we want. Hallelujah. Jesus. Great is he who's the King of Kings and the Lord of the Lord. He is wonderful. Sing with me, everyone. Great is he who's the King of Kings and the Lord of the Lord. He is wonderful. You are great, Jesus. It's a pleasure to follow after you. Oh, because you're so wonderful. You can take a heart that's broken and mend it by your power, Lord. Through your grace and your mercy and your blood, you are wonderful. You can take a home that's broken, where the parents have left each other, and by your power you can renew love. You are wonderful. You can take a life that is broken on drugs and alcohol, and through your blood you can redeem them, Lord. You are wonderful. You can take us, Lord, out of our troubles, into your arms, Lord, where there's peace. You are wonderful. Sing it, girls, altos, come on.
Great is he who's the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. He is wonderful.
Sing it again, great.
Great is he who's the King of Kings.
Every alto in the building, sing. Great is he.
Who's the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. He is wonderful.
Soprano, sing. Come on, soprano, sing. Sopranos again, come on. Sopranos, softly sing. Hallelujah. Before we knew you, Lord, our lives were broken, torn into pieces, but you put us back together again, Lord. You are wonderful. So many of us were lost in religion and church work, Lord, but you found us and renewed us. You are one. I wonder if the men could sing. Sing life and wipe away the past. I wanna shout it out, whatever your top saying. For now I know that God has taught me how to dance. I could sing a living song. I could sing my soul. I could dance 1,000 miles, 'cause I know it all. My heart is thirsty, Lord, to tell them all you've done, of how you changed my life and wiped away the past. I wanna your chains. Get right with God in Jesus' holy name. I call the east. I call the west. I call you every time in town. Hallelujah. I call the north. I call the south. I call the old man. And I call the God has mercy on the sinners. Come, 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 all you who are lost. Come, come, come. He will fill you with His Spirit. You've got to come. Satan, you lost. Jesus did it all by hanging on the Yes, he did. Come, 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 oh holy master. Come, come, come to a church not made by hand. Come, 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 riding on a white charger. Come and take your bride, all dressed in white, made pure by the blood of Jesus Christ. I call the east. I call the west. I call to every tribe and town. I call the north. I call the south. I call the old man. And I call the young. I call the east. I call to every tribe and town. I call the north. I call the south. We call the old man. And I call the Come to Jesus. Father, we call the prodigal tonight, Jesus, to come home. Father, every person here, if you're in this place tonight and you represent someone in your family or friends that have gone away from Jesus, they're not following Him anymore, and they used to follow Him, I want you to lift your right hand. Hallelujah. And keep your hand up. And if you're representing someone here tonight that has never known Jesus, not the prodigal, but those that have never known Him, I want you to lift your left hand. Father, we call them in right now, Jesus. We call them in right now. We call them in right now, Lord. You're extending an invitation, Lord. And God, we add to that, Lord. Add our voice to your voice. And we say to them, come home. Come home. Come home. Come home. Come home. All of the weary and labor and are heavy laden, come to Jesus. Come to Jesus. Father, send your Spirit and your glory, Lord, wherever they are tonight. Father, we ask you to release angels to minister to them and bring them to a place of decision tonight. Tonight, Lord. Tonight. If they're watching by way of video right now, Lord, tonight. 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 There's no promise of tomorrow, Lord. Bring them home. 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 I'm talking to someone tonight who's really weary.
someone who's really hurting, someone who's tried everything, or at least you feel like you have, and you feel like you see through everything and there's hopelessness everywhere you look. You got to look past church buildings. You got to look past preachers. You got to look past singers. And you got to see Jesus. He's here tonight. There's some people watching by video. You need Jesus. You've made a mess of things. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you, and he's not just some fairy tale or some dead religious notion, but he's alive. And if you'll give him a chance, he'll know you, and you'll know him. If the world from you withholds all its silver and its gold, and you have to get along with meager fare, just remember in his word how he feeds a little bird. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. Leave it there. Leave it at the feet of Jesus. And if your body suffers pain and your health you can't regain, and your soul is almost sinking in despair, Jesus knows the pain you feel. He can save and he can heal. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. Leave it there. Leave it there. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. If you trust and never doubt, he will surely bring you out. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. And when your enemies assail and your heart begins to fail, don't forget God in heaven still answers prayer. He will make a way for you. I know he'll lead you through. If you take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. Come on, sing it. Leave it there. Leave it there. Take your burden to the Lord. Leave it there. If you trust and never doubt, he will surely bring you out. Take your burden.
Standing. There's power in this room for whatever ails you, whatever you're going through, the struggles that you're facing. How many believe that? He can heal your body. He can set your captive mind free. He can deliver you from drugs. He can set you free from alcoholism. He can heal your marriage. And the list goes on and on, friend. He's in this place. We're not dealing tonight with a bunch of ministers, a musician, and an evangelist and a pastor. We're dealing with God here. I come here expecting just as much as anybody else. I'm going, God, what are you going to do tonight? He's here. I got this email today, and Lynn, I just want you to play that. And this just fits. This email came in today. It says, Dear Steve Hill, My name is, and I'm not going to give you his name, but he put it here. I just wanted to write to you. The reason I'm not going to give you the name is because we always have critics that are sitting out here, and they call these people, and they hound them. We got the most devilish people in Christendom you've ever met in your life, friend. I mean, they're horrible people. They're horrible people. And I mean, it's unreal, the treatment that they'll just go out and just rip somebody to shreds. And so I'm not going to give the name, critic, but it's a true story. My name is John Doe. And I just wanted to write to you and let you know that your revival at Calvary Temple in Modesto, this is a place we were at last week, changed my life forever. I hadn't been to church in over 20 years. Somebody say 20 years. I am 33 now. I've been living a very sad life. Listen to this. I was a practicing homosexual, a dope dealer and a user, a prostitute, a foul-mouthed human being in and out of jail. But I came to the revival. I came down to the altar. And I called out to God and I begged him for forgiveness. I received prayer. I woke up from off of the floor and was totally changed by the Spirit of God. Now, friend, he goes, I now attend church regularly. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke dope. I don't practice homosexuality anymore. Listen to this. I have taped over all my pornographic music with Christian shows. I read my Bible every day, and I just had to write you and say thank you for coming to Modesto, you and God, and for saving my soul. Now, I want you to hear me, friend. Did you hear the garbage list in this man's life? Practicing homosexual, a dope dealer and a user, a prostitute, foul-mouthed human being. I mean, he lists it, friend. He goes, etc., etc., in and out of jail. I don't know what your cargo is tonight, friend. I don't know what you've carted here on your wheelbarrow or what is hanging on your back. But I'm here to tell you, if you'll take it to the Lord, if you'll take it to the Lord, he'll set you free tonight.
When your enemies assail and your heart begins to fail, don't forget God in heaven answers prayer. He will make a way for you. I know he'll bring you through. If you take your burden to the Lord and leave it there, leave it there. Come on, sing with me. Take your burden. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. If you trust and never doubt, God will surely bring you out. Take your burden. One more time, sing with me, leave it there. Leave it there. Leave it there. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. If you trust and never doubt, he will surely bring you out. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Wow. Glory. Glory, 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 glory. Bless you, Lord. Bless you, Lord. Bless you, Lord. You are faithful, Lord. We praise you. We praise you. We praise you. Let's lift our voices and praise you. Hallelujah. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, we praise you. Yes, Lord, we praise you. We praise you. We praise you, oh Lord, we praise you. Hallelujah, we praise you. Bless your name, Jesus. Lord, we bless you, we bless you, we bless you. We bless your name, Lord. We bless your name, Lord. We bless your name, Lord. Bless your name, Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Bless your name, Lord. Bless your name, Lord. We worship you, Jesus. We worship you, Jesus. We worship you, Jesus. Hallelujah. The voice of God, the mighty warrior, declaring war, hear his command. You are a chosen generation, a mighty force within the land. All of creation now is waiting to see the righteous take their stand. Moving out in his anointing, fulfilling God's eternal plan. The voice of God, the mighty warrior, declaring war, he is the man. You are chosen generation.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. You know, God has had an agenda that hasn't changed since the fall of man. He saw that fall before it happened and had the answer before it happened. His son would die. But since the fall, God's had an agenda. And that agenda is to bring mankind back to himself. For people to get back into right relationship with God. And having nice homes is okay. And having nice jobs is okay. And having lovely families is okay. And being creative and arts and music, that's okay. But God's goal is not for any of those things. God's goal is for us to be back in right relationship with Him. And the great need has been for laborers. The great need has been for people who won't just get right with Him, but they'll then turn and make others right with Him. Who'll say, if God had mercy on me, what could I possibly do but pour my life out for others? You read about people like Evan Roberts in the Welsh Revival or Hudson Taylor on the mission field, and when they really came to know God and had a deep experience with Him as teenagers, they wanted to find some act of service so that they could repay their debt of gratitude to God. And we can sing, the Spirit says, arise, but the Spirit is singing it to us. We're singing the words, but we're singing it in our own ears. God's saying to us, will you get up and go? Will you go in the harvest fields? Will you go in your homes, in your schools, in your places of business? Will you be a witness? Last night we were at prayer meeting, our school prayer meeting, our Friday night prayer. We had the largest number of students yet out on the streets on a Friday night, and it's growing. We had 250 young people hitting the streets of Pensacola, sharing the gospel last night. And then many of them were joined by others as we have our Friday night prayer meeting from midnight till 5 in the morning, and with people with heavy schedules being there and faculty with heavy schedules being there. We had about 250 praying, same fervor, intensity, going after God. But when we started praying, about the first hour, there was just a spirit of worship and just laying our lives down before God. And God just began to deal with me, and God just began to remind me of something. You know, in Psalm 109, as the psalmist is hated and threatened and maligned, he says these words in Hebrew, va'ani tefillah, which you can translate, but I am prayer, or I am a prayer. And God was just dealing with me last night that the highest form of worship is that our whole life is given over to God. And that the deepest prayer is that our whole life is a prayer going up to God. It's not what you bring, it's not what you do, it's your whole life being given over to God. That's the sacrifice He wants, not the deeds and the works, but your life given over to Him. In the same way, your whole life is to be a witness. It's not something you put on or you do or you hand out a tract. Your whole life, your whole purpose in being here is to be a witness, is to be given over to the purpose of God to spread the gospel. And before everybody sits down, I want those that are sitting to stand up, because I believe we just need to respond to what we just did. Before we go any further, I just want us to stand, and everybody here that is serious about God, if you don't know God and you're curious and you're fighting it, if God's pulling on your heart, you can open your heart right now. Otherwise, you just stay open and let God speak to you, because He'll set the record straight with you tonight and help you. But I want everyone here that claims to know God or be hungry for God, I want you to raise your hands to God and say, God, here I am. God, use me. God, use me. Make me fully usable. God, make me a witness. Make me a living sacrifice. Lord, I'm not holding anything back. Lord, nothing in reserve. Lord, I give myself to you without condition, without reservation. Your will be done in me. Your will be done through me. Whatever the task, Lord, whatever the call, here I am. Just cry out to Him. Tell Him, Lord, here I am. Get His attention with the hunger of your heart. Get His attention. Lord, here I am. Lord, use me. Don't pass me by. Lord, if there's sin, I put it down. Don't pass me by, Lord. God, 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 God Almighty, God Almighty. Get His attention. Get His attention. Lord, look at me. I want to be used. I want to be a vessel for your glory. I want to make a difference in this generation. Jesus. 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 Send us, Lord. Send us, Lord. Jesus. You know, in Luke chapter 10, as Jesus is sending out the 72, he tells them, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few, so ask the Lord of the harvest to thrust forth laborers into his harvest. And that's a prayer we love to pray, but the next words Jesus says are, go, I'm sending you. It's one thing to pray, it's another thing to be the answer to the prayer. God wants you to be the answer. You got an unsaved neighbor, you're the answer to somebody's prayer to touch that person. You got an unsaved coworker or someone in the school with you, young person. There may be a family member across the country. There may be a grandmother praying for that very person, and you are God's answer sent. Don't wait for somebody else to do what God's called you to do. You're in your home church, you got a burden, this bothers you, you want to see something done. Maybe God's giving you the burden not so you'll gripe or complain, but so that you'll go do it, so that you'll offer yourself. Here I am, send me. God will do it. And if you're not sendable, he'll fix you up tonight. Amen? Amen. You can be seated. God's in the house. He's ready to move. He's bursting forth in our midst. He's going to speak and change lives tonight. Change tonight. Don't leave here tonight unless you get what you came for. Jesus. Go ahead, Lendl, in any dialect you like.
Sure enough. He just analyzes it too much, doesn't he? It's easy to speak English. Welcome, y'all. Y'all have a good time in the Lord tonight, all right? He has fire in his eyes and a sword in his hand. He's riding a white horse across this land. He has fire in his eyes and a sword in his hand. He's riding a white horse all across this land. He's calling out to you and me, will you ride with me? Fire in his eyes and a sword in his hand. He's riding a white horse across this land, and he's calling out to you and me, will you ride with me? Will you ride with me? We say yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. We'll ride with you. For his bride, and he's longing that she be with him right by his side. There's a fire in his eyes, his burning desire that his bride be with him right by his side. And he's calling out to us right now, will you ride with me? Oh, there's a crown on his head, and he's carrying a scepter in his hand, and he's leading an army all across this land. He's calling out to you and me again tonight. Will you ride with me? Will you ride with me? And we say yes, Lord. Will fight. Oh, we will rise with the armies of heaven. We'll be dressed in white. We say yes, Lord. We will rise. And we say yes, Lord. Sing with me. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. No turning back. Though none go with me. Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. No turning back. No turning back. There's some folks here that you need to make a decision tonight. You need to decide. It has nothing to do with goosebumps, has nothing to do with feelings, has nothing to do with falling out under the power or shaking under the power. You need to make up your mind tonight.
Yes.
You know I'm talking to you. You're going to go after God, period. It doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter what people think. You're going to follow God. You're going to follow Jesus. When I got saved, I had hundreds of friends, just like anyone else would out in the drug scene. All my party friends. When I got saved, I had made a decision. I'm going to follow Jesus. Every one of my friends fell away. Every one of them. None of them want anything to do with me. It's a decision I made. I said, it's a decision. You make a decision. You decide. I was persecuted by my own family. Jesus said that would happen. When the gospel comes in, it causes all kinds of problems. Some of you are struggling with that right now, and there's division in the family because you're getting so on fire for God. Friend, I'm telling you, stay on fire. Stay on fire. The ones that I was battling with in my family are on fire for God now. My whole family's saved. But if I'd gone belly up and become weak and listened to them and allowed their coldness to affect me, I don't think they'd be saved today. And I sure wouldn't be preaching the Brownsville Revival. I'd have gone some way of the religious world, just lukewarm. So we're going to sing this one more time before we pray together. And I had not intended to do this at all. This is just something's going on here. You better make up your mind, sir. You better make up your mind now, ma'am, that you're going to live for Jesus, period. No matter what comes down your road, no matter what you have to face, you're going to live for Jesus. Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. No turning back, no turning back. You know, for those of you that are going to the mission field, Bible school students, others that are contemplating missions, I want to remind you that it's a lonely world out there.
You're all alone. The ministry is the loneliest world in the world. There's nothing like it. You're all alone. You're always alone. You can be surrounded by thousands of people, but you're carrying the burden alone. You're always alone. Period. Lyndall Cooley has got a lot of people that work with him. He's got a lot of people that work with him, but the burden lies on Lyndall Cooley's shoulders. Always. He's the one that goes to bed at night thinking about the music, waking up in the morning. And these other folks do too, honey. Please don't get me wrong. But he carries the burden of the music department. John Kilpatrick carries the burden of Brownsville. And the whole world, 3.5 million people have come through here. And people pat him on the shoulders. They hug him. They want the anointing that he's got. The bottom line is, friend, he's all alone. And those of you that are planning on going to the mission field, just remember, when you're 6,000, 8,000 miles away, everybody will forget about you. So get ready for it. Out of sight, out of mind. I've been there, okay? I've been there. I've been introduced in congregations when I'll come back for a service and I'd have pastors say, I want everyone to welcome Steve. He's been working in Africa. And I've been in Argentina for 6 years or 7 years. Didn't know. One pastor stood up to introduce me, and this is how he said it. I want everyone to welcome our missionary guest today. And as you welcome him, you need to thank God that he's going instead of your kids. Wild stuff, friend. That's exactly how he introduced. Thank God that it's him over there and not your kids. That they're at home eating meals with you and hanging out with you. And God's sending him instead of us. You need to thank God that he goes instead of us. Would you welcome Steve Hill? It's just weird. But that really is the way it is. So get a grip right now when you go, when you get ready to go, and you're over there for 2 or 3 months and the honeymoon's over. And the cards and the letters aren't pouring in. If they were, maybe they're caught in the local mail and they never get to you. Remember the song. Though none go with me, still I will follow. No one cares about me. Friend, you might have a handful of people praying for you, but the bottom line is that's true. And I don't want to, if the Brownsville people, I don't know how many of y'all have prayed for Klaus this week. Don't raise your hand. Where is he working? You're in Jira? You know, it's like, yeah, there's a handful of people that pray for him. But the bottom line, he's fighting the war alone. Why? That's the way it always is. Thomas went to India to preach the gospel, one of the disciples. Was he speared or filleted? He was speared, that's what I thought. He was speared, killed, you know, all alone in India. I just can't stand complainers, friend. I've been around too many of them that gripe and complain. Remember, Jesus hung on the cross alone. Everyone's crucified by themselves. You go through the pain by yourself. So if God's calling you to missions, this may be a hard word for you, but when you get where you're going, just do the work of the Lord. Do the work of the Lord. And expect everyone back home to forget about you. If you'll expect everyone to forget about you, then if a letter does come, it'll be wonderful. Amen. Well, wasn't that a wonderful word? Just uplifting and I want to tell you. Let's pray. We're going to ask the Lord to speak to our hearts, change our lives. Everyone pray together out loud. Those of you at home, pray together. Dear Jesus, speak to my heart. Change my life. In your precious name, amen. You may be seated. Charity, I want you to stay ready. Turn to the book of Ecclesiastes, right after Proverbs. Old Testament. This is the book where the birds got their song, turn, turn, turn. Everybody in the 60s were singing the Bible. You remember that, Mike? I remember when my mom first heard that song, because I had that song. I had the birds singing, turn, 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 and Mom lit up. At least Steve was listening to something that had some Bible in it. Ecclesiastes 9, verse 3. This is entitled Moral Madness. And I'm a little upset tonight, so just let me ventilate a message from the Lord that I was been spending all morning long writing it. Moral madness. I made a mistake last night by after the service. I was just sort of a little restless, so I decided to turn on the news. That's just a mistake, friend. I mean, throw up. This nation is so sick. Those of you that are visiting from other countries, we are not proud of this nation, okay? We're proud that there are some things here that are godly. But we're not proud of our government. And we're sure not proud of what's being displayed all over the world. The whole world is watching this charade in our capital. And they're laughing at us. Trust me, friend. I've been all over the world. Mike has. They laugh at us. They laugh at us. Those stupid Americans. Those silly Americans. There they go again. They parade everything across the front page and in their tabloids and make fun of us. Verse 3, chapter 9. This is an evil among all things that are done under the sun, that there is one event unto all. You know what that one event unto all is? Death. Yea, also the heart of the sons of men is full of evil, and madness is in their heart while they live, and after that they go to the dead. Period. Say period. We're not going to read anymore, friend. That's enough. Now keep in mind that everything I'm sharing, there's already been a remedy for it. Jesus Christ came 2,000 years ago to take away the sin of the world. Isn't that the truth, Brother E.T. Corbin? This man right here has been preaching this message that we preach at the Brownsville Revival. He's 87, been preaching it most of his life, probably 65, 70 years. 72 years been preaching the gospel, just like we preach it here. The same remedy 70 years ago. No matter what kind of alcoholic he ran into in South Florida, wherever he was evangelizing, whatever drug addict, whatever prostitute, whoever it was, he told me just earlier in the service, he remembers he going to a service in South Florida where a busload of Latinos pulled up, and he didn't speak Spanish and they didn't speak English, and it was just a real mess. But God moved someone off the highway. A man was riding down in his car down the highway, and the Lord spoke to him to pull into that church. So he pulls into the church, and there's E.T. Corbin with 500 Latinos, and the man spoke fluent English and fluent Spanish. And so they both, E.T. Corbin preached, the man translated, and all 50 of them came running to the altar. But I can guarantee you he was preaching something like this. Jesus loves you. He has a plan for your life. If there's sin in your life, the blood of Jesus will wash the sin away. Come to Jesus. Come to the cross. Is anyone paying attention? It's the same remedy, friend. So what I'm sharing with you tonight, there's hope. What I read to you earlier ago, friend, I'm just going to share this. I share with you this email that came in today from Modesto, California. Pastor, you weren't here when I shared it, but I got this in today. This is a man who hasn't been in church in 20 years. He's a practicing homosexual, was a homosexual dope dealer, a drug user, a prostitute, a foul-mouthed human being in and out of jail, etc., etc., a filthy man. Came to the altar, got saved. When I got this, friend, I was with my wife this afternoon, and we were just in our bedroom, and I was reading this to her, and I burst into tears. I couldn't read it anymore. My eyes watered up and alligator tears started pouring down. But see, Jerry's used to that. She's seen that ever since we got married. That's one of the reasons she married me, because she's always had a passion for souls. And I look at this and go, my God, this guy was going to hell. 2 weeks ago, he was going to hell. But he came to a meeting in Modesto. And now, he's not only actively involved in the church, he's quit drugs, he's quit practicing homosexuality, which is a sin, if you're unaware of that. And I love this. He's taped over all his porno films with Christian services. That's a good steward of your money there. He's taped over all the porno films with Christian shows, and he reads his Bible daily, and he said, I just had to write you and say thank you. You don't know what that means, friend. We get hundreds of these in, hundreds of them. Isn't that strange that a man can come into a service just like this one right here with all that baggage? Think about it. I mean, friend, that's not an overnight situation. This is in-depth sin. And in one service, say one service, because we're not preaching Muslim, we're not preaching Buddhism, we're not preaching some other cult, we're preaching the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. He sits there and he goes, you know, I think I'll go down there and give that a try. And he comes down, and friend, he's totally transformed. There ain't nothing like the gospel. Those of you that are thinking about the ministry, it's awesome. It's tough, but it's awesome. I wouldn't trade it for anything. You know what's so cool about this? I'm going to die one day. Brother E.T. Corbin, you're not going to beat me, brother. I want to either drop dead of a heart attack before you, or we're going up together in the rapture. But probably the rapture. But we might sit together at the marriage supper of the Lamb. You and me, man, we'll just sit together, and the pastor will be way on down the table. He'll be with the Apostle Paul, and Linda will be sitting across from all the other singers of years gone by, you know. But we'll be sitting there with all these, and this guy right here is going to come walking in. His name's Brad. He's going to come walking in. He's going to look at this table that stretches for miles and miles and miles. And he's going to go up to the angel that's seating everybody. He's just going to go, where's Steve Hill sitting? The angel's going to go, he's right down there with that young man, E.T. Corbin. Would it be okay if I sat with him? It's all right with us. There's plenty of room here. We got a lot of chairs, got a lot of space. Everybody's going to have a seat. Go on down there and sit with them. What is it going to be like, friend, at the marriage supper? To sit across from somebody and just stare at them. And he says, just want to say thanks. And I know there's not going to be no crying up there, but friend, I got a feeling there's going to be some emotion. And he's going to say, just before we dig into this angel food, you know, I just want to say thanks. Because I'd be burning in hell right now if you didn't take the time to preach the word, the undefiled, pure word of God, and tell me about Jesus, who is the light of this room. I just want to say thanks. Friend, that's why we do what we do. It's all that matters to me. This is entitled Moral Madness. Moral Madness. I was going to title it The Maze of Moral Madness, but just moral madness is a maze in itself. So just write moral madness. The King James said here, and madness is in their heart. The New American Standard says insanity is in their heart. But we are living in a nation, friend, that has gone mad. By mad, I mean it's totally out of control morally. Would anyone agree with me? There is no fear of God in anyone's eyes. Proverbs 16:6 says, by the fear of the Lord, men depart from evil. By the fear of the Lord, men depart from evil. And since there's no fear of the Lord in our capital, everyone does what they want to do. Let me explain that to you for those of you that don't understand. Build into your character, build into the character of your children, the fear of God. That means there's always somebody watching. Scare them to death, friend. My children will tell you, when they do something wrong, they confess quickly. You want to know why? Because they know Daddy talks to God. And God sees everything. I've had my kids say this to me. They know that God talks to Daddy. And if God sees them do something, He's going to tell Daddy. So they try to get to Daddy before God does. Because if I hear it from God, they're going to get a licking. That's the fear of God in their lives, that there's somebody out there watching everything. I hope you're listening, friend. That's why we have the judicial system. That's why we have police. If you have no fear of the judicial system, not the man with the badge. My son asked me the other day, he said, what is a policeman like? What are they really like? I said, they're just human beings. And he said, well, what does a uniform mean? I said, now that's a good question, Ryan. That badge and that uniform stands for our judicial system. And you should have respect for it. Because it is backed by the Constitution and the laws and the democracy of our land. And we have legal systems here that if you don't abide by what they say, the laws, that man with that badge can come and arrest you. And so you better have the fear in you of this whole system called laws in America. Those of you that get a lot of tickets, you know what I'm talking about. Eventually, they'll take your license away. By the way, E.T. Corbin's going to be praying for the sick tonight. If anyone's sick in body, all of us are going to be praying for folks, the whole prayer team. But when Brother Corbin's with us, he's not with us that much. He tries to make it at least once a week. But this man's got a touch of God on his life. And if you have to hang out for an hour or so to get prayer from him, get prayer. We'll all pray for you too. But wear him out, man. And by the way, he's not going to come to you. You got to come to him. Whew. Isaiah 53:6 says, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned away everyone to his own way. Proverbs 21:2 says, if you don't like the Bible, you're going to hate these services here at Brownsville, okay? Proverbs 21:2 says, every way of a man is right in his own eyes. Are you listening? Romans 3 verse 11 says, there is none that understands, there is none that seeketh after God. They are all gone out of the way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Their throat is an open sepulchre. With their tongues they have used deceit. The poison of asps is under their lips, whose mouth is full of cursing. The Bible's talking about us. Whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are in their ways, and the way of peace have they not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes. I'm talking moral madness. My first point tonight is this. A person, I want you to listen, friend. If I get up early in the morning to get a message for tonight, you're sure going to listen to it, okay? If he's going to wake me up at 6 after just a few hours sleep and pour this into me, you're going to listen to it. If somebody nods out next to you, I want you to let them go to sleep. Just let them go to sleep, and then wave at me, just like that. And I know it's not altar call. We don't do that in altar call, so you just sort of wave at me. And then what I'll do is I'll just keep preaching real loud, because that's what keeps them asleep. You know, as long as they can hear that steady preaching, they know everything's okay. And I could be saying, rub-a-dub-dub, thanks for the grub. It doesn't matter to them. They're fast asleep. So I'll keep preaching the gospel, and I'll walk up to them with this handheld, and I'll turn to the sound booth and I'll say, now. And I'll stick it in their face right as they're snorting. And it'll reverberate in this room and shake the lights, and it'll shake them awake. And when they wake up, when you wake up, sir, thousands of people will be staring at you. And guess what? You'll be on television. So go ahead and go to sleep. And good night for your soul not to worry. A person, number one, can be intellectually sane. Say sane. And at the same time be suffering from moral insanity. I want you to hear me, friend, because this is a paradox. This is so unusual. This right here, in the nutshell, is what we're experiencing up northeast from here. A person can be intellectually sane, but be suffering from a severe case of moral insanity. Now, what I saw last night, I turned on the news, and I watched it for 5 minutes. That was it, 5 minutes. And they were, that's enough. And they had interviewed the president's little girl that not Chelsea, the little girl that he had in his White House. The girl that's young enough to be his daughter that he was playing with. They were interviewing her, and they said this: do you believe the president is an intelligent man? You know what she says? She said, I believe he is an intelligent president. What an answer, man. You can read what she was saying. He's a smart president. He knows the numbers. He knows how to run the country. And by the way, no president runs the country. Some of you are so ignorant when it comes to politics. They've got a presidential council, an advisory council. He doesn't make decisions. You'll just wake up one morning and go, well, let's just bomb Iraq. No, friend, he's got all kinds of people that warn him. It's not presidents just don't have that kind of power. They got all kinds of advisors, and they listen to them. So back off when you think they make all the decisions. Don't give them all the credit for it. There are people behind the scenes that should get all the credit for the decisions and all the speeches. You're not going to find a president that ever wrote a speech besides Lincoln. They wake up in the morning, they go, this is your speech to Congress. This is your speech to the Senate. This is your State of the Union address. This is. Don't give everybody credit for this, friend. Give the writers credit. Give the advisors credit. But the man did not stay up all night long and write all this stuff out. This is an education. But she said, he is an intelligent president. That's a good answer. What she was saying is, the man has some brains when it comes to running the country, but morally, he's a basket case. Morally, is anybody listening? He doesn't have the smarts. How many times in my life have I heard men and women say, I've lost everything. Look this way, folks. They were business tycoons. They were entrepreneurs. They got in the middle of this den of sharks and somehow raised up a company that skyrocketed all the way to the top on Wall Street. Now they're multi-millionaires. They got everything they could possibly want. And here they are at the Brownsville Revival. The whole thing has come crashing down. I've prayed for so many ex-millionaires here, friend. It's amazing. And it's all the true stories. They're all true stories. Why? They had the intellect to rise to the top, but morally, they were washouts. They had the intellect to climb to the very top, but they couldn't stay out of bed with their secretary. They had the intellect to climb to the top, but someone at this Christmas party said, man, why don't you try some of this cocaine? So they started snorting lines of cocaine. Next news you know, they're sucking up all the profits and snorting it in the back room. Next thing you know, their marriage is falling apart. Next news you know, the company business is starting to come unraveled, and the board gets together and they oust the man who started the company. It happens all the time. People can be intellectually sane and be morally bankrupt. Is anybody paying attention? I've seen this too many times, and I'm tired of the stories. Man can manage the affairs of a nation, but can't even manage his own personal life. We're brilliant. I marvel, friend, at the computer. This right here was just sent to us. Just zip, 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 zip. Gone are the days of the Pony Express. Friend, we live in an awesome day. Man has learned a lot about computers. The internet, I marvel at it. Now, a 7th grader, say 7th grader, is able to access a file transfer protocol, or an FTP, and download the latest application. That's wonderful. He can get on there, friend, and surf sites all over the world. Isn't it sad, though? He can download programs, access websites, but he doesn't know how to access God. He's learned how to download someone else's pornography into his living room, but he doesn't know how to download the Bible into his heart. Intellectually sane, but morally mad, insane. I'm preaching Bible. I'm preaching Bible, friend. Now, Solomon was a wise man. He says, it's heading to death. You're heading to death. Everybody's going to die. He said, and this is what I see in the nation. Man is morally mad. Look at us with nutrition. Boy, we know all about the latest fad diets. You can be a part of Dr. Atkins' revolutionary high-protein, low-carb diet. Or a book that we just got. What was the name of that thing? The Sugar Busters. I mean, it blows my mind. One day you can eat something, the next day you can't. One day you can eat something. How many know what I'm talking about? I mean, one day they're saying, graham crackers, eat graham crackers every day. Graham crackers 3 times a day, and then a banana at night, and then 6 grapefruits in the morning, and you lose 83 pounds. And then a book will come out, and it'll say, it'll have a graham cracker and a banana on the front cover with a slash through both of them. And it says, graham cracker plus banana equal poison. We know everything about our physical bodies, how to take care of them, but we can't even resuscitate our spiritual lives. Our spiritual health is dying while we're working out at the local gym. Friends, something's wrong. Intellectually, we're brilliant. Spiritually, we're bankrupt. Oh, I can tell tonight something's going to happen here. Oh, let's talk skin care. For all you aging baby boomers, I've got news for you. You're going to die. With or without wrinkles. I don't care how much cream you put into your body. It makes no difference to me what potion you drink. I don't care if you have a fat sucking machine. The bottom line is, friend, you're going to die. But boy, honey, is that any better? Is that any better? No, I still see it, baby. 2 hours later, honey, is that any better? Yeah, it looks like it's really faded a little bit. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. It's a miracle. No, friend, it's about $82 worth of skin cream. And the problem is, next morning it's going to come, that spot's coming back. We know how to take care of our skin, but we haven't learned how to deal with the flesh. I'm telling you, this is in me today, friend. I can feel this. Some of you are morally insane. You're mad. You can define this as a drunkard. Mike and I were talking about it a few minutes ago. A drunkard that just keeps getting drunker and drunker and sobers up for a few minutes, sobers up for a week, and then falls back into drunkenness, does stupid things, steals from people, slobbers all over himself, falls in a pool of his own vomit, gets back up, wipes his face, goes to a bar, gets another drink. It's insane. When I drive home from revival, I am always blown away by people. Matter of fact, last night when we were going home, we pulled into a grocery store and a woman got out of her car like this. That's how she was driving down the road. And she got out of her car to go buy some groceries. And the cop at the grocery store kept an eye on her. I mean, no telling what kind of commotion she's going to cause. It's insane. Morally insane. And she'll wake up today. She woke up this morning with a hangover. She woke up and she's thinking, what did I do last night? Where was I last night? Who did I go to bed with last night? Where was I last? What, 2 months from now, she's going to feel a little pregnancy coming on. I wonder, whose baby is this? Where did this happen? What's going on? And then you know what she does? She'll go to the bar, get another drink, and go to bed with somebody else. Friend, we're morally insane. Is anybody paying attention? This is Bible. Well, I think it's amazing that we have spacecraft that can take us to Mars. I know we were all saddened when they came back and said there's no life up there, like all my life I've been hearing about Martians. The Martians are coming, the Martians are coming, the Martians are coming. Then they start sending back pictures. Man, ain't no Martian living up there, friend. So it's just a real letdown for all of us. But we can send probes out into Nowheresville, friend. NASA has machines that baffle. They got a thing called the Deep Space One Explorer that is like Hal. They got a computer like Hal on the film 2001. A phenomenal machine. We can send these probes out into Nowheresville, friend. They're discovering galaxies that we never dreamed of. We can go to the farthest star that we've seen, friend, but we can't even get to heaven. We don't even know how to get from earth to heaven. But we can take you to Pluto. This nation's got a corner on technology. It used to be, those of you from Japan, I know you're constantly on the cutting edge. And Japan was a threat to us. I remember when I bought my first Nissan. That was before, it was a Datsun is what it was. How many remember the Datsuns? I bought a Datsun, and a friend of mine came up to me and said, what did you buy that for? He said, don't you know that that's Japanese? And I said, it's a good car. I said, it's not only a good car, it's better than any Chevy I've seen on the road. And yet I see the gas mileage. And I said, these things are going to be around a long time. And I remember a friend laughing at me. Well, about 10 years later, nobody's laughing. And General Motors and the rest of them were looking at the whole scheme of things and understanding that the Japanese imports were going to take over the nation unless we got our cars a little bit smaller and started getting better gas mileage. For years it's been like that, but things have changed over the last decade. Now we've got the Silicon Valley. Now we're producing some of our own devices. We have 3Com, US Robotics, Qualcomm. We put out a lot of our own stuff. We seem to have the corner now on technology. I wish to God we had the corner on morality. I'd rather everything go back to Japan. And I'd rather the world look at us and go, well, at least they're moral. They ain't got the brains to put a chip in a computer, but at least they're moral. Charles Finney said this. I'm moving quickly, believe it or not. I'm skipping pages here, friend. Charles Finney said, although some sinners may be internally fair or okay, and may seem to be amiable in character and temper, yet every real sinner is actually insane. Now this is Finney. He is a lawyer. He said, every sinner is insane. And this is why. Because Finney would always state his case. And he'd always have the evidence. And he'd always demand a verdict. And he would say, eternity is so vast. And its issues, that means what's going to happen in eternity, is so dreadful. Yet this sinner drives furiously to hell as if he were on the high road to heaven. And all this because he is infatuated with the pleasures of sin for a season. He said, they're insane. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Because you don't understand the reality of what sin will do to you, friend. Sin will destroy you. And that little thing you're doing, remember, this is why Jesus died. He died to take away your sin, not to give you a car. He died to give you life, not to get you a new suit. The sin in you is like a seed planted in a garden. You plant that seed, friend, something's going to grow. The devil's going to water the daylights out of that thing. And I remember one time I had a little handful of pumpkin seeds. And I went out my backyard and I said, Mama, I want to have a pumpkin patch. And so I took these things and I just stuffed them in the ground in my backyard. It wasn't but a few months down the road, friend, I had pumpkins for everyone in the neighborhood. My dad said, what have you done? He said, I can't even mow the grass. Those pumpkins are everywhere. You're going to pull the weeds all around them things. They covered half the yard. That's how sin will do, friend. Just a few seeds. How many here have seen kudzu? Those of you that are visiting from other countries, I think it may have come from one of your countries. But history has it that someone back in the 60s or 50s wanted to get a little plant life in their little secluded area in a lake. And so they heard about this plant called kudzu and they took it and they planted it. Well, this stuff crawls, friend. You can almost watch it grow. And anybody that's been up and down the highways of the South, you'll see something that used to be a forest or something that used to be woods. A place that we used to play in when we were kids, but now it's just a non-stop canopy of vines. How many have seen that? Called kudzu. It'll choke the life out of everything. It'll choke the life out of a telephone pole. It'll crawl over your house. It'll eat you alive if you'll stand there. Just like sin will. Just like sin. My first point was this. A person can be intellectually sane and at the same time be suffering from moral insanity. So don't be coming here, friend, and showing me your diplomas. Don't come here and show me your PhDs. Because a PhD ain't going to get you in heaven. A doctorate in this and a doctorate in that ain't going to get you into glory. We've had millionaires, we've had the medical profession, we've had the legal profession sitting in these chairs. We've had congressmen sitting in these chairs, people that were intellectually brilliant. And as the altar call was given, tears start rolling down their face. They get up and they run to the altar just like a prostitute would. Why? They realize their intellect ain't getting them nowhere. They might have a couple million in the bank, but they ain't got nothing in the bank of heaven. Number two. How many believe this is from God tonight? Number two, there is a set of rules. Say set of rules. For everyone to adhere to, and no one has the right or authority to change them. There is a set of rules. I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. There's a set of rules for everyone to adhere to. Everyone in this room, everyone at home, everyone in Washington. There's one set of rules for everyone to adhere to, and no one has the right or authority to change them. Now, the word moral, if you'll look it up in the original text, I'm talking about, friend, when America used to know what moral meant. If you look it up in an old dictionary, this is what moral meant. The word moral has reference to the law of God as the standard by which their character is to be determined. That's the definition of moral in this nation. That's why our forefathers framed the Constitution the way they did. That's why on their little coins it says, "In God we trust." There was a time where we really did trust in God. And if someone was doing something wrong, they would go to the Word of God and they'd say, "Sir, that is adultery." They'd go, "Ma'am, that is witchcraft." They would say, "Sir, that is sodomy. That is sin. The Bible says it is, and you're going to jail." I'm talking about moral madness, friend. Morality. It's conformity. This is something else. Conformity implies to the act that must be performed by a free agent, that's you and me, and from a motive of obedience to the divine will. There's a divine will again. Always talking about the law of God. What was Noah Webster putting the divine will in there for? What was he talking about the law of God, friend? Because there is only one book, and there only is one book. It's called the Word of God, friend, and this is where you find out what the rules are. This is where some of you that are morally mad, you're morally insane. This is where you go to find out what's wrong with me. That's why this homosexual, that's why this prostitute, that's why this dope dealer and dope addict walked into Calvary in Modesto, California, and he heard a message like this. If I was standing up there preaching Plato or Socrates or some theologian from years gone by that didn't have a touch of God on his life, the man would have left out the same way he came in. But you want to know what he heard? He heard some rules. He heard some rules from the book. The book! By the way, in the old dictionaries in America, when you look up the word Bible, you know what it says? In capital letters, the book. Now, you'll look in the dictionary and it'll say a series of messages or stories that Christians believe to be this hogwash stuff. But back in the olden days, it was defined as the book. There's no other. Capital T, capital B, the book. Many of you know the word Bible itself means book. But the book is what Noah Webster was saying. There is no other. This is the foundation. This is a cornerstone. This is how you build your life. This is morality in its clearest form. This is what it is, friend. This is where you read, and this is where it tells you what you can do and what you can't do. Is anybody listening? This is not something you can vote on in Congress. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Honor thy father and thy mother. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet, friend. Those are not the 10 suggestions. Those are the 10 commandments. You have no option. I don't know if I'm getting through tonight, Pastor, but I want to tell you, God got through to me. I'm ticked. I'm just in a righteous way, friend. I'm going, wait! Stop the presses! Let's get back to the bottom line. The bottom line is we have fulfilled Solomon's writings. We have become morally mad. We are insane with this thing, friend. We've gotten to the place where right is wrong and wrong is right, and everyone discusses the definition of adultery. There's no discussion on the definition of adultery. There's no discussion on the definition of homosexuality. It's clear. saying fornication's fornication. Whew. There's one rule book. And when Jesus came along, he underlined it. And he put exclamation marks at the end of it. And he said things like this: ye have heard that it has been said by them of old, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you that whosoever looks on a woman to lust after her has committed adultery with her already in his heart. Wow. Ye have heard that it has been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Talking about the rule book. For those of you that are just such a fanatic on everything being named out, you can turn to Galatians later, 5:19 through 22, 21. The works of the flesh: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred. It goes on and on. It covers everything. Mark 7:21, from within, out of the heart of man, proceeds evil thoughts. Don't raise your hand. How many has had an evil thought? Don't raise your hand. Isn't it amazing? I want to shed some light on this. Some of you are in condemnation over stuff. Isn't it amazing that you can be worshiping God, then all of a sudden a devilish thought goes through your mind? Now everyone, if you've experienced that, raise your hand. My hand's up. Okay, you put the other. Well, his hand's up. I'll put my hand up. If you have not experienced that, friend, there's something wrong with you. Well, either that or you got some type of coating on you that... But I can be going after God with all my heart, soul, and strength, and suddenly out of the sky blue, something stupid hits my mind. And it's so, is anybody listening tonight? And I'm going, where did that come from? But you know what you do? Am I getting through to anybody here tonight? Then you know what you do? You rebuke it in Jesus' name. You take authority over it. You get rid of it in Jesus' name. The problem is some of you here are morally mad. You're morally insane. And when that thought's coming into your mind, you begin to water it. You go, oh, that's an interesting seed. I think I'll plant that in my little rose garden. Then you sit there and rather than worshiping, you're watering that thing and fertilizing around it and going, no, come on, grow, grow, grow. Little fantasy in your mind about some lady across the hall or something. Friend, rebuke it. Take authority over everything that comes against the Almighty God. Isn't that true, brother? People that watch these broadcasts, I want to tell you something, sir, ma'am. You're in the right place at the right time. You are where you're supposed to be. Don't change the channel. Don't even think about it. Just sit there and soak it in, because you may be dealing with moral insanity, but I've got hope for you tonight. It's insane. Crazy stuff. You ever met anybody? Now, there's all kinds of insanity, okay? There are people that have mental problems. I understand that. But there are people that are just plain old crazy. I'm talking about self-inflicted craziness. You ever met people like that? I have. I remember one man in our Teen Challenge program that I tried to help him and tried to help him and tried to help him. And his big thing was hacking spray paint, silver spray paint, silver spray paint. He'd spray it in a bag and go, and he'd go berserko. Friend, you know, come on. That's poison. It's going to knock your brain cockeyed. Okay, kills millions of cells. And yeah, you'll cop a buzz. It's a dying buzz, friend, but you're copping something, okay? It's called a cheap thrill. And here this guy, he'd come over. And he'd come over to the house and he'd go, hey, Brother Steve, at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'd look out there and his whole face would be silver. whole face would be silver, silver all over his hands. I go, Mark, you're going to kill yourself. What are you talking about? I said, man, you look like a robot. Look at yourself. You're silver. He goes, I'm okay. Can I have something to eat? And I'd always fall for it, and I'd go down. I'm one of them friends. Mercy, 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 mercy. I'll come down, I'll fix him a hamburger or something, sit there, and he'd get silver all over the bun, and just, he'd eat it, paint and all. I go, Mark, you're going to kill yourself, man. No, I'm not. You know what I'm going to do, Brother Steve? I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do this anymore. You promise? I promise. 14 hours from then. Hey, Brother Steve. Just insane, friend. Same with pornographers. Same with pornographers. I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. You can't even go to a Circle K. You can't even walk into a 7-Eleven without eyeballing those magazines behind those little plate covers there. I watch people as I travel around this nation. We go from airport to airport, and I watch these smutty businessmen. I watch them. They'll walk in, they'll look around, their wives aren't with them. They'll look around, make sure no one's really watching them. God's always watching, friend. Because, they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed, and they'll walk right over to the smut. They'll pull out Hustler or some trash magazine. They'll pull it off, and there they are flipping and looking at the nude pictures. Trying to hide them from anybody that might walk by. I'm going, you're insane. You're destroying your marriage. This is going to lead to you picking up women down the road. That's where it's going. But they're morally insane. Is anybody listening? The Bible talks about stuff like this, friend, and it says it is wrong. Number 3. By continuing on in your moral madness, your insanity, you are destroying your life on earth and are dooming yourself to hell's insane asylum. I'm going to read that again for those of you taking notes. By continuing on in your moral madness. See, Solomon said everybody's going to die. Your moral insanity. You are destroying your life on earth and are dooming yourself to hell's insane asylum. I'm going to talk about a couple of these things, and we're going to move quickly to the end right now. Hell's insane asylum. Trust me, friend, it's crazy down there. Jesus talked about it. Don't ever forget, rich man and Lazarus, man, he was down there. Rich man was suffering. Come down and just drop some water on my tongue. It's a crazy place down there. What do you think hell's like, friend? A third of the fallen angels, a third of those that were in heaven that fell with the devil are down there. What do you think they're doing? Twiddling their thumbs? What do you think the devil's doing down there? You think you've been harassed on earth. What do you think hell's going to be like, friend? Just being harassed. I've been harassed in my life by demons. But just being around demons is enough. Forget the flames, the torture, the burning, the smell of burning flesh. What is it going to be like with all the demons and devils down there? What's that going to be like? Well, let's talk about here on earth for a couple minutes. You keep going on in your moral madness. And I speak this to the White House. You continue on, you will destroy everything that you have deemed precious in your life. And you'll end your life as a madman. And people will look at you and say, he was once the apple of our eye. He was once a man who we esteemed. But now look at him. His life is trashed. The Bible says, Proverbs 8:36, he that sinneth against me or God wrongs his own soul. Job said in verse 8 of chapter 4, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness will reap the same. Listen to this one. Psalm 9:15, the heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made. In the net which they hid is their own feet taken. Oh, and those of you that think I'm bashing our commander-in-chief, this is not bashing the commander-in-chief, friend. This is preaching the word. You better get the difference. The Bible says, how are they going to know unless they're told? I don't know where you're from, friend, but I'm saved because I was confronted. And for those of you that have never been confronted, you need to be confronted. Someone needs to walk up to you and speak into your life. All through my Christian life, not only my conversion, but all through my Christian life, men and women of God have stuck their bony fingers in my face and told me how to live. They didn't ask me. They didn't ask my opinion. They didn't say, Steve, think about this. They told me how to live. And I am eternally grateful for them. Some of you can't stand one word of rebuke. You're a fool. You're a foolish child. You're going to pay a serious price for it. You get mad when a preacher preaches like this. When a preacher talks about sin that's going to destroy you. When he says, get the movie out of your video deck. Even that popular movie that had that 5-minute love scene in it where people were half naked and cussing. Get it out of your house. Rather than listen to the word of God, you begin to get irritated. Who is he to tell me how to live? I'm a man of God trying to tell you how to live, friend. Live holy. Live pure. Live holy before God. You want your prayers answered? If you want God to answer your prayers, man, then be a holy woman. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. See, I can't talk about a whole lot of other people because I don't know a whole lot of other people. My wife and I are very, very private. We've always been private. We always will be private. We do not have any close friends. We have a lot of folks that speak into our lives, but we're very private. We don't go out on couples dates and things like that. Very rarely. We spend a lot of time with each other. Why? I've seen too much junk out there, friend. I've seen in the name of Christian fellowship, where two couples are out dating, the other man will be looking at my wife. And rather than looking at her face, he's looking at her body as she's sitting at the table. I'm watching him do this. But we're just out for an evening fellowship meal. And so we're careful. We're real careful. We spend a lot of time with each other. And when I say the effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man, a righteous woman avails much, I can tell you the reason God answers Jerry's prayers is because I live with her. She is holy. Period. She's holy. A man that's taking care of my son Ryan, he's 11 years old. My son is 11. This guy is in the Bible school, but he's watching over my son. He works in this church. We were together yesterday, and he said, I just want to say something to you, Steve, about your family. He said, you must have an awesome home life because your son radiates that home life. You must have an awesome home life because he's always speaking about it. He's always talking about it. And I'm not going to stand up here, friend, and say something to you that's not true. When I say that we don't have any junk in our home, I'm saying that too. We have a housekeeper that comes to this revival all the time. She knows every video in the whole house. She knows every nook and cranny. She dusts the whole house. She'll sit out there and she'll nod. There's nothing there. It's clean. I'm not telling you to do something that we haven't done, friend. But you want your prayers answered. Get holy. I'm sidetracking here for a minute, friend, because some folks are confused about this. A little leaven will level the whole lump. A little sin, friend, will bring the whole house down. And a little sin will cut God off at the pass. David said, when I kept silent, my bones waxed old through my roaring all the day long, Psalm 32. For day and night thy hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drought of summer. I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and mine iniquity have I not hid. I remember being there, friend, when I was a sinner. I remember what it was like to be dry and nasty. I remember what it's like to be physically abused. My body, I had abused my body, and I remember what it was like until I acknowledge my sin. I'm talking about what this moral insanity will do for you here on this earth. Some of you are so paranoid. The Bible says in Proverbs 28:1, the wicked flee when no man pursueth. You know what that is? That's moral insanity. You see a cop, you're scared to death. Why? Because you're guilty of something. The wicked flee when no one pursues. You're always nervous. You're always paranoid. I'm telling you, friend, this moral insanity will kill you. I meet people just in the jitters all the time. They run into me at the mall and at places we go, and they'll come up to me and they'll apologize to me for their lives. They'll ask me, I've had people ask me to forgive them in Walmart. You know, and I'm just there to buy a birthday card or something, you know, and they're coming up and going, preacher, I just want you to know, I'm not living the way I should, but I'm going to get better. I promise. They just live like this. They're jittery. Other people, they'll see you and they'll go. That happens all the time. Because we're on television everywhere, friend, and it doesn't just happen here, it happens in other cities too. And people, man, they'll see you, you'll watch them, they'll go. The wicked flee when no one's pursuing. Why? They're afraid I might have a word for them. Yea, I say unto you. And then there's hell, friend. Not only the life here is full of, how about this one? He that covereth his sins shall not prosper. How many here want to prosper? Then don't cover your sin. Proverbs 28:13. And I don't have to go in tonight, friend, all the scriptures on hell, but I got them here. But hell's a real place. Revelation 21:8 is a place that you can read, friend. All liars will be found in the lake of fire. All murderers, whoremongers, sorcerers, idolaters. Jesus talked about hell where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. Whew. Man, I got too many pages. It's destroying everything. Sin destroys, friend. I've got all the stats on pornography, on alcohol, on those of you from Australia right now, they're trying to put condom machines in high schools in Australia. And if there's anybody from the Australian government listening to me tonight, we've already been there, done that kind of stuff. It doesn't work. One of our high schools that distributed condoms to the school kids, the study's already been made. Teenage pregnancy skyrocketed upwards 1/3 greater than all the other schools in the nation ever since we passed out condoms. What that means? When you pass out a condom, you're saying, enjoy. Kids that weren't even thinking, they were thinking virginity, they were thinking abstaining, but now since the teacher and the principal says it's okay to indulge, I'm talking about where sin will take you, friend. It'll destroy your life, little girl. You don't want to be 17 with your belly pooching out.
Come on, Steve.
Right before this revival broke out, I spoke at a school close by here. And after I spoke to the whole high school, I used to love doing that. I'm going to get back doing that, Bobs. They'd invite me in to speak to the whole school. I'd speak to thousands of teenagers. in the middle of the school day. I'm talking secular schools. Secular schools. And I'd make a deal with the minister, with the principal. I'd say, how far can I go with the kids? Can I give an altar call? They go, no. No altar call, But I said, how far can I talk to them? I said, can I stay here all day long and talk to them one-on-one about Jesus after I speak? They always said yes. And so I'd stay all day long talking to kids. And I'd walk into the lunchroom. And after speaking that morning in a big rally, man, I could not. You just called over to every one of the tables. They'd go, hey, Steve, come here. We'd sit down. Next news, we're talking about Jesus in that table. It's just phenomenal stuff. But this one school, I spoke to the whole student body. And after that, a teacher came up to me and said this, would you come speak to the pregnancy class? And I said, well, what's that? They said, all the pregnant girls. I said, well, how many do you have? She said, come for yourself. Come see for yourself. Went out of the school across the street. And here all these 15, 16, and 17-year-old girls. There must have been at least 25, 30 of them in this class. All pregnant in high school. And I want to tell you, there was not one smile on any face. All their dreams had come crashing to the ground. And I said, well, I made one statement to all the girls. I said, I'm going to talk to you real straight here. Is that okay? And they all went. I said, where is he? I said, where is he? He's gone, isn't he? Every one of the girls, not one of them went, no, he's with, every one of them went, yeah, he's gone. Sin will destroy you, friend. Don't fall for it. We pulled up something today. Everybody stand together. There is an amazing graph, Mike, on the computer right now. I don't know if you've seen it. But it has to do with addictions. And when you pull up the website, it's moving like this. That's how quickly the numbers are changing. And I had Tommy, my secretary, pull this up at 11:59:53. That means 7 seconds before 12 noon. As of today, just in that time span, 3,083 people started smoking marijuana for the first time. 5,694 people started drinking for the first time. 167 people started using heroin for the first time. 730 people started smoking cocaine for the first time. 1,249 people began using LSD. I'm talking about today. And as you watch the screen, it's going. And that's why she gives the numbers down there, to give the clock, so you can know what time, because if I called her right now and said, Tommy, look it up, these numbers would change. When I saw 1,249 kids would start using hallucinogens, had already started today. It don't take much, friend, to do the math on that. That was only 12 hours into the day. That means in 24 hours, 2,500 kids. Multiply that by 30 days in a month. Multiply that by 12 months in a year. This nation is going morally insane. 4,100 kids, people started smoking today. Already, 53,000 people have started smoking this month. This month. This is serious. Well, we're morally insane, but I've got good news. Jesus can take the morally mad and transform them into the spiritually sane. He can take a madman. He can take someone that has no idea how bad off he is, and in a heartbeat, turn him around. That's my Jesus. He can take your insane habits, friend, and in a split second, make you spiritually sane. We've watched it at this revival over and over and over again. Now, I got about halfway through that message, but I believe God's finished. Charity, I want you to come join me. No one moving any chairs, just everyone stay steady. Some of you within the sound of my voice, listen up at home, are at the brink of insanity. See, friend, I don't want you to lose everything. Some of you here are just about to start an affair, but you haven't started it yet. Cut it off. Cut it off now. I beg of you. It's not worth it. Travel with me around this nation, and I'll introduce you to shipwrecked ministries and pastors that just had to have a 30-minute fling, and they will tell you it's not worth it. I can take you to people that were some of the finest evangelists this nation has ever seen. But they just couldn't keep, they were brilliant intellectually, but they just could not keep their sexual drives under control. And now, one of them, I can take you to, he's selling insurance. He used to be a full-time evangelist preaching the word. But that insanity brought him death. Destroyed his family, married some other girl, and trust me, friend, give him a few years, she'll be gone too. Because he's morally insane. He's gone morally mad, like Solomon said. But turn it around tonight, friend. Jesus Christ can change you up in the balcony. Down here on the main floor, he can change you. He'll forgive you. Nip it before it goes any further. Get the sin out. Whatever it might be, get it out. Get it out early. Get it out early before it ever even develops roots. As the sin is like a seed floating through the air, grab it. Toss it into the fire. Destroy it, friend. Get the sin out of your life tonight. Those of you that have backslid, I'm going to ask you in just a minute to come forward. You're doing things that Jesus would never do. I'm going to ask you to come forward and give your life to Jesus Christ 100%. Just like Lyndall sang a few minutes ago, though none go with me, still I will follow. You're going to shake that sin out of your life. You're going to come to Jesus alone. And all your failures in the past, you're going to lay at the cross. All your backslidings, you're going to lay at the cross. And you're going to say, Jesus, I'm never going back to that sin again. It's over. It's over. Sir, what would happen if we got together, you and I, and we went over to your house right now with no warning? What would your house be like? Would you make me stay outside for a few minutes until you got everything in order? I want you to think about it, friend, because I'm just a preacher. God's already there. You need to repent. Ma'am, you need to repent. Those of you in this room that have never known the Lord, we've sung about Jesus. I've talked about Jesus. He's my best friend. He saved my soul. Back in 1975, he'll save your soul. I read you a letter tonight about how he changed a man that was so deep into sin, it's scary. Now you read this letter, if he keeps going the way he's going, he'll be another Apostle Paul, the way he's writing already. He can articulate how God brought him out of this and brought him out of that, and God set him free, and it's real. It's a real story. You can feel it. How he plugged in. You know what I told him at the end of it? When I gave the altar call in that church in Modesto, there's 1,000 people came forward in those 2 nights. When I gave the altar call, I said, those of you that have come here tonight to this church with somebody, plug into this church. And guess what he did? Exactly that. That's why he's on fire. He plugged in. Don't be rebellious tonight, friend. Those of you that don't know the Lord, I want to encourage you to come to Jesus as soon as Charity begins to sing. Those of you in this room that are religious, one of the things that I wish they would quit showing on television, I wish they'd quit it, is every Sunday they show our commander-in-chief walking out of a church with his Bible. And I want to scream and say, put that book away. You're confusing the weak American people. If you're not going to live by it, let dust settle on it. But don't carry it around righteously. Somebody better stand up in this nation, friend. I'm telling you, there's a generation that's waiting for some leadership. There's a generation dying for some leadership. And so tonight, for those of you that are religious, you can go to church on Sunday morning and bust hell wide open on Sunday afternoon. You can go to hell with a Promise Keeper shirt on. You can go to hell with a "Yes, Lord, we will ride" sticker on the back of your car. You can go to hell with a communion cup in your hand and a wafer in your mouth. You can go to hell, friend, with baptismal waters dripping off your face. I'm asking every person, everyone, look at me right now and don't get upset. I'm asking you, do you know him? Do you know Jesus Christ? Not do you know about him, do you know him? I'm trying to help you. I want you to become spiritually sane rather than morally mad. Do you know him? There's a group of people, friend, that are going to be cast into hell, and they're going to be surprised the whole time they're flying down into the pit because they thought they were going to make it. They said, Lord, Lord, in your name we did this, and in your name we did this. And he's going to say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. And he's going to cast them into eternal darkness. Those are the people in our churches, friend. Don't play the game with God. I'm asking you, do you know him? Do you wake up in the morning with Jesus on your heart? Do you go to sleep at night with Jesus on your heart? Do you eat, drink, and breathe Jesus? Is he everything to you? If he's not, friend, you're not saved. I'm telling you, you're not saved. What are you talking about? You can't talk to me like that, preacher. Friend, let me tell you, the Bible just says idolaters shall be cast into the lake of fire. You know what idolatry is? Anything that sets itself up in front of God. It can be fishing. It can be boating. It can be the Wall Street Journal. It can be anything that magnifies itself in the face of God. And you spend 5 minutes worshiping and 5 hours going after the pleasures of this world. Friends, something's wrong. So when I give this altar call, I want everyone to come forward that needs to get right with God. This is where you're going to do it, right here. The only thing that'll hold you back is pride. Pride will say, I don't need to go down there. Everything's fine. I'll do this at home. No, friend. The Bible says God resists the proud. Brother Corbin, if I preach the word tonight, pride. I want to tell you, I trust this man, 87 years old. Been preaching the word all his life. He knows we're preaching the truth in this place. This ain't religion, friend. This is heaven or hell. In or out, sanity or insanity, Jesus or the devil, the streets of gold or the stench of burning bodies in hell. What do you want? The only thing that'll hold you back with pride. Pride, friend, God resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. And I'm going to do something tonight that I haven't done this week. I'm going to do it because I feel the devil working overtime. I'm going to bind the devil. And when I bind the devil, everyone look this way. When I bind him, those of you that know you need to get some stuff out of your life, when I bind the devil, there's a shackle that's going to come loose from you automatically. Boom. He has absolutely no authority. The devil has no authority. When I pray this prayer, he has got to let you go. He's got to undo the shackle. He has absolutely no choice in the matter. And so the shackle is going to come undone. That means you're going to have a split second to get down here if there's sin in your life. The devil knows if there's sin, by the way, and so does the Lord. There's no secrets. You might fool your wife, You might fool your husband. You might fool your friends, but you don't fool God. You can be masturbating in the back room and think you got everybody fooled. But God's seen the whole thing, friend. And so has the devil. And so the shackles around you, it's going to come undone. And when it comes undone, you have a split second to get right with God, to step out and come down. If you don't, here's what's happening in the spiritual realm. Here's what's happening. The devil's watching, so is the Lord. You're going, you might as well say this, devil, I'm not going down there. You can have me. Because you're not giving yourself to the Lord. And you're going to feel it close over your leg. I've done my part. You're going to have to do yours. I'm going to pray this prayer. I'm going to bind him. Charity's going to sing Mercy Seat. And if you need forgiveness, come quickly. Satan, I come to you in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Loose him and let him go. Loose her and let her go. Hurry, friend. If you want forgiveness, come on right now. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Come and kneel at these altars. Hurry right now and kneel at the altars. Hurry, 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 hurry.
Everything is unknown.
Hurry. Don't wait any longer. Come on. Come on.
I did not know.
My friend, you have listened to every word. And you've also been watching the shenanigans going on across the networks. What's right? What's wrong, friend? It's called immorality. It's called breaking God's law. It's called transgression. It's called sin, and it will drive you mad. It'll drive you insane, and it'll take you straight to the insane asylum in hell. I'm asking you right now to make a decision to become spiritually sane and say, Jesus, come in and wash me. Come in and cleanse me. Come in and make me brand new. Right now, sir. Right now. Right now, ma'am. Kneel right where you're at. Kneel in front of that TV set. Slip off the couch. Get off that bed. Just kneel right here. Those of you watching by radio, listening by radio, you ask God to forgive you right there in your car. Those of you watching the website, ask the Lord to forgive you right there. Come on. Come on. Hurry. Hurry. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Hurry. 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 Hurry.
In the curse
Hurry.
of a lifetime of sin.
Hurry.
The illusions, they never come true. But I know where there's a place of mercy for you.
Come on. Come on.
He said you can
Come on.
come into his presence.
Come on.
Without fear.
Come on.
And to the holy place where his
Come on.
mercy hovers near.
Hurry. Hurry.
Come running.
Hurry. God bless you, son. God bless you, sis. God bless you, sis. God bless you, ma'am. God bless you, sir. Hurry. We're closing. We're closing.
His grace will be uncovered.
Come on. Come on. His blood will. God bless you, sis.
It will provide the
Come on. Come on.
running
Come on.
to the mercy
Come on.
seat.
Hurry. Hurry.
He said I could come into his presence without fear and to the holy place.
Yes.
Where his mercy
Yes.
hovers near.
Yes. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. His grace will cover me. His blood flow freely. Hurry. 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 Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yes. Come on. Everyone at the altar, bow your heads. We're closing. We're closing right now. Everyone at the altar, bow your heads. If y'all are coming down, you need to come quickly. If you're coming down, we're just going to close it, Linda. Come on, sis. Come on down. He's going to wash you, friend. He's going to cleanse you. Everyone at this altar, bow your heads and pray with me right now. Dear Jesus, pray out loud at the altar. Dear Jesus, thank you for speaking to me. I want to be spiritually sane. I want to be in love with you. I don't want sin to have any place in my life. I ask you tonight to forgive me, wash me, cleanse me, make me new. Jesus, be my Savior, be my Lord, and my very best friend. From this moment on, I am yours. Though none go with me, still I will follow. And you are mine. Jesus, come live your life through me. In your precious name, amen. Everyone stand at the altar. Nobody clapping.